These are the four pieces that form the aft seat and air tanks. They go in the aft corners of the boat. It's just 4 plywood panels. They're glassed on one side and double epoxy coated. And they're also epoxied on this is the inside, the side no one will ever see. So that's epoxied as well. And the side facing up has a layer of glass and then a second coat of resin rolled on. So this is how it starts out. Just 4 simple panels. They've got some tongues on them that fit into grooves in the boat. The next step for these aft tanks is blind fillets that'll eventually be used to glue these tops into place. I've got the boat tipped up on its side here. I just do that with a clamp up here at the bow. Holds it securely enough. And I've just done the starboard blind fillets. They're inside this thing. I've got it all taped. Excuse me. Got it all, the top all taped on all the sides, nice and securely. And then try and get you inside here. I've installed blind fillets on the 3 sides where it's contacting. The inside has a cleat where it attaches to the inside panel that'll be installed later. And the green tape at the end here, right here, and where I've cut the fillet off, that's where the cleat from the inside panel lands. So I've kept that clear on both ends. There's the fillet on the little aft bulkhead. That's the bulkhead right there. Again, the tape and the cutoff fillet. And then down here, that's the, I lost the focus there. Oh well, don't know what I can do about that. Hello, focus. There we go, magic. But that's the outside of the hull, that fillet way down there. And yeah, this is as fun to get to as you think. With the boat tipped up, I'm standing on a little bit of a stool platform that I have to give me better access. I think the focus is gone again. You just have to deal with my amateur camera work. Come on. All right, we'll move to the other side. So I repeated that filleting process on the port side. And I should say, one thing I forgot to mention is the underside of this seat where these fillets are installed, there's clear plastic tape installed. You can see a bit of it here. And that wraps over all the edges as well and into these the tongues that go in these slots. So that's why the epoxy is not going to stick to this. In the end, I'm going to take this, when the epoxy cures, I'm going to take the seat off. And those fillets will be there on the hull with a nice flat surface to which this will get glued later. So let's just show you inside here. Enjoy it before the focus goes out. I don't know why it does, but amateur cameraman. You get what you get and you don't get upset. Flip you around here. This will be the aft side of the little aft bulkhead. There's the main bulkhead up there, just for visual reference. And there's your fillet up there somewhere. My camera's turned around, I can't see. Anyway, it's there. There it is. Part of the fun, discovery together. So I'm going to let this hull down now and let those cure overnight. And then in the morning, I'll take those seat covers off and we'll have those nice fillets. And I think we can get on with the final installation then, which will be good. So it's the next morning. I've just taken off the top panels after installing these blind fillets. Panels came off with no problem. The tape, the clear tape underneath worked well as a release. And this is what these fillets look like just as they came out. I've removed all the tape. Came out well. Gonna clean up the edges a little bit so they're not quite so sharp. and sand the gloss off the top, and these are ready for final installation very soon. Here's where we are a little bit later, a few minutes later. Cleaned up these fillets a bit, just sanded the inside edge, the sharp edge, this edge here. Just sanded it back a bit so it wasn't razor sharp, and sanded the gloss off the top. Cleaned up around the hull a little bit, and then those seat tops will fit right back in here. So that's where these ended up after a little cleanup. Nothing to it. Next step for these aft tanks is to glue in these interior panels right here. You can see I've got them well taped in place to hold them, and I also taped over the seams completely just to make sure no epoxy got forced through. So those are taped in place, and then on the inside I've installed these fillets that will glue them in permanently. And I'm hoping that these fillets will set up quickly enough today that before the end of the day I can glue the lids in. I just need them to set up to gel stage so that they won't move unduly. I used fast hardener for these fillets for that reason. I wanted to make it more challenging to install these half tank covers because frankly I was just getting bored with the process. So I decided to lift the aft end of the boat up about a foot to make it really fun to get in there. Actually, no. The reason the boat is blocked up like this, and this is so high right now, is because of the mast tube installation, which I also did on this day. And because I didn't want to mess around with moving the boat after either step, I wanted to install these aft tank covers, and I also wanted to install the mast tube. So I blocked the boat up to get the mast tube vertical, but that made it a real pain in the neck to do these tank covers. But anyway, these aft tank covers are installed. They are, let's see, first I epoxy coated the inside of the tanks. And over those new fillets that I installed this morning to install the, losing my nomenclature here, but these interior panels. So that had cured enough by after lunch that I could move on. I coated the whole interior of these tanks with epoxy in the undersides of these covers. And then I secured these down with thickened epoxy and these various clamps and tape. They have a couple small nails in that edge there to help hold it from slipping. And then it's just pressure fit for those strips back there and these clamped strips on the sides to hold everything in place. And then I cleaned up the squeeze out. And there you have it. The following morning, here's a quick look down and dirty at these aft tanks, now completely glued in place. Tops in place. I've removed all the clamping. I haven't done any more work to them yet. So things are a little bit of a mess. A little bit of epoxy where the wooden clamps were stuck and so forth. But that'll all get cleaned up later. These edges will get cleaned up. Get the rest of that tape off. And then all these exposed edges get rounded over and fiberglassed to totally seal it up, and then fillets around the bottom and everywhere that counts around the top. That's all going to happen a little later. So these are now sealed up for all of eternity. When I worked at Hinckley about, I don't know, a billion years ago, I was working on a Bermuda 40. I used to do hull lamination, and the guy who'd been working there at least since the dawn of time was telling me a story about the Bermuda 40 and how in the construction of that boat, there's this void at the forward end of the keel that before it got covered up with a flat surface to make the bottom of the bilge, it was filled with a mixture of fiberglass resin and chopped fiberglass. And somebody hid a ham sandwich in one of those masses of fiberglass. So what did I hide in these? I don't know. You'll have to take the boat apart to find out. Something for you to think about at night. It's another day and all the epoxy's cured on these aft tanks. So these are fully assembled now. I've gone ahead and cleaned up from the epoxy work, rounded over all the edges, as you see here. Just a nice little round over for looks, and also to help the fiberglass lay over there. There's going to be fiberglass tape on these 3 seams that I've sanded. And then once that cures, the whole thing gets filleted around the edges, including this forward side that I've already started, and then around the top 2 edges and that bottom edge against the hull down there. At long last, the aft tanks / seats / buoyancy compartments are done. This process started quite a long time ago when I fiberglassed the panels before installation during some other step when I was glassing. So they've been sitting around for a long time waiting installation. And once the glass cured overnight, I pulled off the peel ply, lightly sanded a little bit just to clean up any rough edges left from the peel ply. And then I cleaned up all around the edges and applied these epoxy fillets all the way around, meeting up with the ones I had started on the forward bulkhead. That was actually kind of handy because it gave me a good starting and stopping point. So these fillets go all the way around and complete the total sealing of these things, and also cosmetically finish them off. And of course all this will get epoxy coated later, and then this will all get painted eventually somewhere down the road. Can easily move the boat around now because it's cut in half. Show you this side. So those will cure. I'll lightly sand them as needed, and these tanks are done.